Hello, Illustrator fans. Thanks for stopping by. Welcome to part 2 of the Translating Concept Sketches to Vector Art in Illustrator series. Today we are going to go over our first method for translation. That method will be based on using the Shape Builder tool and also Pathfinder. The way this starts, you will find out there on the internet a lot of people doing these shape challenges. They're a really good way to keep yourself drawing, challenge yourself creatively. I like to use them for warm-ups. So you will find things out there that look like this as a starting point. I did these first as loose graphite sketches and then finished them out with line work, a little bit of shading, and some fill areas with microns. And how this method starts, like the majority of the methods, well, 2 out of the 3 methods I am going to show you, is by drawing paths with the pencil tool, just tracing over your artwork. So I drew my first line. This is based on overlaps, so you want to make sure all of your lines cross one another, and at a lot of points, especially where there are sharp intersections like this hair here, that they cross and actually go outside of your original artwork. I do understand that can be a little counterintuitive for you practiced artists and illustrators out there, but if you follow through and see the payoff on this, I think you'll find it's a very quick, easy to get, simple, medium complicated artwork accomplished in a very efficient manner. In between drawing strokes, I like to make sure that I deselect the line that I just drew. I do that by using the last tool keyboard shortcut, that is Control Command. You'll notice my pointer when I hold down Control Command turns from the pencil to the selection tool. I can click, that deselects my current path. When I let go, I am back to the pencil tool, and I can continue on making strokes, tracing over my artwork. I'm going to show you just a few areas on the original sketch here, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this around all the way. Don't forget, with the pencil, if you're not quite happy where that path landed, you can trace back over it and Illustrator will adjust. Let me go through the hair right here so I can show you something I do. When I have a sharp corner, I pause slightly and then move on. I find that, especially with the pencil, Illustrator has an easier time capturing those sharp points. I can zoom in on that so you can see it when you actually take a moment to pause. All right, I don't do the speed up fast motion thing, so skipping over to a version of this that is completely ready to go, I will zoom in on this and again point out this method is based on overlaps, and those overlaps are very important. What you want to think about is to make sure that you have the areas that you want to color differently blocked out, so that after we use Shape Builder Pathfinder to clean and then cut things up, those areas are already set as distinct areas. All right, step 1 for us, and I have a waiting for me rectangle behind there that I'm going to deselect really quickly. All right, step 1 is to apply brushes to your strokes. I'm going to use the Jason Seacrest character inking brushes palette that we looked at installing in the previous demo. Stroke weight of 1 on this actually looks pretty good to me. You will notice that even though these appear black because that's the way they were built, my stroke is still showing full-on magenta as my pencil was set when I drew them. Don't worry about that. Our very next step is going to be to turn these paths into shapes by going to Object Path Outline Stroke. And next we are going to do some cleanup. At this stage right here, we can, at our discretion, now change the color. Okay, Shape Builder, or Shift M on the keyboard. The way this works, when you're not holding anything down, it's going to look to create shapes and join things. However, if you hold down Alt or Option, it will allow you to clean up things and remove things. So now what I'm going to do is work my way around through my artwork and make sure you're in here close and can really make sure that you're highlighting exactly what you want to get rid of. This stroke right here across the forehead with the hair that I want to get rid of. Before, when I was zoomed out, I was only getting the outline or the outer paths of this shape, and I want to make sure that I'm actually highlighting the interior area as I'm subtracting away these things. And I actually didn't want to take out that one. I wanted to take out that one and this one. And I also want to open this up here. Make sure you're getting all these small strays out of here. I did not pre-ahead this one, so I'm just going to fairly quickly, this is fairly simple line work, clean my way around here so that I am ready for our next step. You can also click and drag while you're in here if you have a whole mess of shapes that you are getting rid of. Whatever works best for you is the method you should use. Alright, continuing on, and let's get back to our Alt Option minus situation, making sure I have the correct pieces selected here. Anything that's outside of the interior of my face, which I know just because I am so intimately familiar with this artwork. You can do the scribble across thing. I would caution you against the scribble method when you are working in the interior on within areas that eventually you are going to want to be solid shapes. Okay? All right. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. This is our last spot to clean up here. Click, 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 and the last of the hair. Let's out to artboard, Command 0 in case you're unfamiliar, and I'm going to go ahead and click out just to get a look at this. Looks good from here. Our next move is to go over to Pathfinder, and we are going to unite or join all of these paths into one shape. Technically a compound shape, but that works as a description close enough. So now you'll see when I click on this, it is reading one giant solid actually group at this point, which is good because I want those eyes to stay put where they are. Underneath this, actually, Illustrator has made a compound shape. So this will work as one unit for cutting purposes. What I am going to do in my layers panel, actually, is copy this first. Then in my layers panel, I'm going to create a new blank layer. This is going to be my final lines. Okay. I'm going to turn off the layer underneath. I am going to paste in place. You can get paste in place instead of just paste by adding shift to your controller command V. That's going to drop this right back on the artboard where it was. I'm going to go ahead and change this to black because that's what I want my final fill color to be. Actually, we can get slightly tricky with that fill color. We are going to do Ginger Zombie Boy out of this, as I've been doing in my class demos. So I actually want a really nice green black for my line work. All right, good. I'm going to go ahead and lock that, turn it off, turn back on my layer underneath where my original paths live. I drew a rectangle over completely outside all of my join single compound path grouped line work, the orange stuff. Then I arrange, send to back to put it behind because I want to use this orange line work to actually punch out or cut from the rectangle. So I'm going to select both. Back in Pathfinder, I am going to minus front. That literally does exactly what the name would indicate. Takes the object in the front and cuts it out of the object in the back. So I hit minus front. Our transformation is performed. By default, Pathfinder leaves the transformation results grouped. So our first move is to ungroup. You can access that through the right-click menu. I'm going to click off again. I'm going to select just the outside. I'm going to delete that because I do not want it. Let's get some really, really dark, really, really red hair in here. That looks good. I actually have my desired skin color up here. His other ear would be the same color. And I actually like that color for the mouth, or for the skin, for the mouth and eyes. Let's go kind of full-on zombie green. All right, that looks good. And now, since our finish line work is on the layer above, if we just turn that on, here is our colored, finished line work applied Ginger Zombie Boy. Before I let you go, I would like to show you another thing. There is an extremely simple shading technique that I like to show people. So that is using the knife tool. And how the knife tool works, it's a click and drag situation. Unlike Pathfinder, it does not group the results, so it's a very quick way to split shapes. You want to start with a shape selected. Right now I have the main larger shape making the face selected. And what I'm going to do with the knife tool, you have to start outside of the shape that you want to split and finish again outside of the shape you want to split. I'm going to go ahead and shade his ear. kind of over to where it meets his body. When I let go, you can see that new path where that split is happening. I'm going to go back to my selection tool, click off to deselect, reselect the portion of the ear that I cut out for shading, activate color picker, and then just shade this down a color. And you can see that works really, really well. I did, however, just dial more into my actual mouth color than a shaded color for the skin. There, that looks better. I can do the same thing here down the bottom of the mouth if I would like. Let's just go across. Let's make quite a bit of shading here. And I'm going to leave that there for a second so I can color everything at the same time. I'm going to do the same thing in here with his ear. And back to, I suppose I could have done this right up front. Back here underneath, up here underneath the hair, there should be some shading. That cuts that. All right, now I can go back and pick up all these areas I just shaded. I'm going to use the eyedropper tool, that's I on the keyboard, to sample in my shade color that I have established. I think for one last step, I'm going to go ahead and shade his hair down to continue our lighting. Okay, back to here, just to get a little darker color. That looks nice. And if I was so inclined for his eyes, back to the selection tool, click off, let me grab these little pieces, and let's go into full-on yellow, green, so more like this. Alright, little googly eyed, maybe that doesn't work perfectly. Obviously I'd spend a little more time with coloring, but look how quickly we got here just from some paths drawn with the pencil tool. Alright, that's method 1. Stay tuned for method 2. We'll go over how to use Live Paint. And method 3 will be the hardcore old school draw everything method. It's really kind of the combination of all 3 methods. At that point, you should be familiar enough to do what is fastest for what you are trying to accomplish. Enjoy.